Well, 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 it's Kelly Bell.
I know. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, that's my favorite brewery in the world.
Your what?
I love that brewery.
Burning Barrel.
Oh yeah.
Is that near Rancho?
It's right by
Sunrise.
No, I'm sorry. It's right
Taco
by,
Bell.
right past Arby's at the light. What's right there?
It's a Taco Bell.
Oh,
Subway.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, those ones. All right, recording. focus on it because at that time it was,
Oh,
you know, I had other shit going on.
Good. There's six racetracks here.
Is it really?
Before the actual race, there was a qualifying, and we went into turn 9 of the racetrack a little too fast for me, and I wasn't able to pull to the right, so we ended up spinning off the track a bunch of times, and luckily we were safe, and the sidecar was safe, but after that I was like, man, I'm out. So I subbed for another passenger, Wendell, who was fantastic, and I'm glad I did. So the rest of the video is just pretty much a live stream of the race. You can see it on Racer TV, and a little interview from myself and other guys of the sidecar community before it.
Frank, tell us a little bit about the bike, maybe how long you've been doing this?
Well, the bike itself, I just got it from a guy in Belgium. It took me a few months to get here. This is the first time we've had it on track, and it is it's an RCN chassis, which is a Wendell copy. And RCN stands for Colin Nicholson Racing, and this is built in the UK, and did I say it was a 2014? And so we had it out here today, just, you know, getting the gremlins out of it, getting used to it. And about myself, I've been racing for about 30 years, racing sidecars. And yeah, this chassis is the best one I've been on. So.
And Frank is an ARMA champion and an AMA champion as well. You've won at AMA champion races. So, Roman, come on in here. Roman is the passenger on this bike. And one of the things that we get a lot about, boy, you're the passenger, you must be nuts. You know, we hear that a lot. Tell us what it's like to be a passenger. First of all, let me delve in a little bit to why a passenger. 2 men, teamwork, very, very important, as we'll see tomorrow on the racetrack. When you're riding a solo bike, you can lean it into the turns to compensate for the centrifugal force that's trying to pull you outside. Obviously, with a sidecar, 3 wheels on the ground, you can't do that. You have to have a passenger that does the same thing with the weight. Move the weight to the inside of the racetrack, counteracting that centrifugal force that's trying to pull you to the outside. Roman, that's your job. And you're new at it, I understand. What do you think about sidecar racing? As this is, I understand, your first event.
It is. Yeah, this is first time I'm out here. Frank actually introduced me to sidecar racing, and it's pretty nuts. People aren't lying. It's pretty crazy. So far though, just getting the hang of it, getting used to it. Yeah, definitely, like you were saying, the forces really take a lot into play, and going into it, I thought maybe it's going to be more like 90% driver, 10% passenger, but really, it really is like a 50-50 kind of distribution. Yeah, and you know, you just kind of dance around with it and go from left to right, and slowly just getting a little better at it. The first one, I wasn't really using the force to my advantage as much. I was really just muscling around, just trying to force myself from left to right, which just really tired me out. So second one I went out there, I started to really get more of a feel of the forces just throwing me around, and even just allowing that to happen, I could kind of tell the bike really liked that a lot more. So.
And this is so cool to be able to see the unique little details, not only between the bikes, but the riders as well. Like we said, or like we just heard, there's so many unique things that the pilot has to focus on, that the passenger has to focus on as well. And then, like Larry's been saying all day long, essentially, it all comes down to teamwork. While you do have 2 people in the machine, they have to work in one fluid motion and work as one big organism. And so I really enjoy this. I want to throw it back down to Larry. I know we've got some more in-depth interviews. I want to learn a little more about this sidecar while we're still getting the rest of our medical staff off the track.
Give us a little bit of your background, Kinsey, because you've got, as well as Kelly, pretty extensive background in sidecar racing.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for, I was actually just talking to him about it, 16 years now. And I only know that because I have a 16-year-old son. So I got into it at Las Vegas. And I was just doing photography at that time. And I was like, oh, wow, that's super cool. I was like, I want to do that. And the tower heard me say it and pointed me in that direction. And I had some background in motorcycle racing. And they just asked me if I wanted to do it. I hopped on. And they're like, you're natural. And so I was like, cool, I want to continue to do this. So just continued with it for the last 16 years.
Excellent. And Kelly, you're a ARMA champion. Have won. I've seen you win races at Laguna Seca. I don't know where else. How long have
Laguna Seca here, Sears Point, or Sonoma? Pretty much everywhere so far.
Let's talk a little bit about your sidecar.
Sure.
Similar to Frank's,
Actually,
but
a lot alike.
This doesn't look. I mean, to the uneducated, well, even to the educated motorcycle guy, you look at a sidecar, they go, what the heck is going on here? Tell us a little bit, first of all, the chassis.
Yeah, the chassis is a monocoque chassis. It's actually built like a Formula One car. The monocoque chassis, it's aluminum monocoque, and everything hangs off of it. It has motorcycle components, so they've taken the idea of a motorcycle sidecar, and then they've modified it extensively to what we have to today, which is this is an F1 long chassis sidecar with a 1000 gsxr motor in it, put close to 200 horsepower out, weighs about 450 pounds.
And how adjustable? I mean, looking at the front end, it's not a leading link front end like we'll see on on the Formula 2 sidecars. It's not a center hub steering quite. And the rear end looks like automotive. How adjustable? What can you do here?
You can do anything here. That's what makes this so great. You can adjust anything up and down, back and forth, side. I can push my trail out. Same thing in the back if it's crabbing. If I need to steer more of a right-hand corner, I'll set it up for a right hand like Willow Springs is. If it's a left-hand track, I can set up for a left-hand track.
And tires. I mean, to the average guys, wow, those are big, wide tires. They look like car tires.
They're actually specially made. These Avons are specially made and come from the UK, and they are especially made for Formula One sidecars. And so there's an 11.5 inch in the back. We have a 10-inch or 9-inch in the front, and then a 10.5 on the side.
Well, it is great to have sidecars here at the BRL. We're going to have about 7 or 8 sidecars on the racetrack tomorrow, both Formula One, and maybe later on we'll get a chance to talk to some of the Formula 2 guys that are a little bit different. Really looking forward to seeing you guys out on the racetrack. And one thing I love about it is when the sidecars are on the racetrack, all the solo guys, everybody goes to pit wall to watch the sidecars. We love the sidecars, and we like to entertain them. And great racing. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with BRL. But we always say this kind of racing brings up the racers to the wall.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the finale weekend of the 2024 Drag Specialties Battle of the Baggers. You heard from there in our opener, we've got some new faces and some new classes as well. Well, we're going to start things off with one of those new classes with our Barnett Clutches sidecar race. I am so excited to see this. I've watched sidecars for a long time on social media, seen them on the internet, but to be able to see them in person here and to have them as a part of the Bagger Racing League and the BRL community, I could not be more excited about it. Tony, this is going to be some epic racing without a doubt.
It definitely is, and we're a little bit new to this, so we're going to welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, Larry Coleman. Larry, you're an accomplished sidecar racer here. We're going to really lean on your knowledge. Tell us what we're seeing out here.
Well, we're seeing one heck of a good start with some of the best in the business in sidecar racing across the USA. We've got 7 of the Sidecar West outfits on the racetrack. It looks like the whole shot was Kelly Bell, and followed by Bernard Ugly. Bernard Ugly and Kevin Kautsky, ARMA champions, multiple champions here in the United States, as they go through turn 3 and work their way up into turn 2 and work their way up into turn 3. Third place would be Wade Boyd and Eric Lindauer. Also champions, Speedway sidecar racers as well. These guys eat, live, and breathe sidecars. And there goes Bernard Euclid now making his move early on this first lap with Kelly Bell hot on his heels, and Wade Boyd, and then Frank Riolo. Riolo, with a 13-year absence in sidecar racing, just imported this new outfit in from Belgium, and state of the art.
So I'm curious, Larry, give us a little rundown, like what's underneath these sidecars? What kind of engines, what kind of chassis, what's underneath that shell?
We've got Formula 1 and Formula 2 on the racetrack. Formula 1 are the long chassis, rear engine. The front running outfits are monocoque chassis, similar to a Formula 1 car build, with the engine and the suspension and all of the wheel and everything hung onto the monocoque tub. Engines, 1,000cc are allowed here in the United States. Most of these bikes, either Formula 1 or Formula 2, are running 1,000cc. Suzuki is the engine of choice, although we see an occasional Kawasaki here and there. But Suzuki 1000s are the engine of choice. Your current second place bike is a Yamaha. That's a current R1. It's got a very distinct sound because it's the Big Bang R1.
Big leader bike.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And the tires are very specific to sidecar racing. Hoosier is now the supplier of tires for the world for sidecar racing, an American company, and they make sidecar specific tires, different compounds for each corner. So we're not quite as sophisticated here in the United States as they are in Europe, but we're getting there.
Okay.
It's a growing sport. Most of our sidecar outfits that are on the racetrack today, except for a few, are hand-me-downs from Europe. They come over from Europe and so, probably the newest outfit on the racetrack is a 2014. Bernard Hughley, who's leading the race at the moment, built his own outfit. That's a beautiful piece of engineering, Formula 1. We're also seeing Formula 2, the shorter outfits, engine more in more of a conventional motorcycle's position underneath the driver. One of the machines on the racetrack, the number 84, Bill Becker from Becker Motorworks here in Apple Valley, California, builds these sidecars and works on the sidecars. So if you're interested in getting a sport, there is a local builder and some expertise. Kelly Bell retaking the lead. This is a great race going on for first and second place.
Explain to me that. He kind of really took the outside line there. Is that a horsepower advantage there?
Horsepower and handling. Teamwork is the key to sidecar racing. Passenger, driver. That passenger can lose and or win the race just as much as the guy with the throttle. It's truly teamwork. The team of Hughley-Kautsky that are currently in second place, a very polished team, been racing together a long time. They've got their teamwork down. Kelly Bell in first, who's currently lead in second place. He's got a new passenger this weekend, but that teamwork is crucial to getting that sidecar, and that's one of the aspects that interests us. Myself, I speak for myself, that really interested me in the beginning with sidecar racing is the teamwork involved. Mm-hmm. It takes a team to make it happen.
Now, Larry, question for you. As far as you emphasize how important teamwork is, let's just take Yuko and Kautsky. You said these are an experienced group. They've worked together for quite a while. How do you come to learn your role as far as, do you want to be the person, the passenger, as you said, or be the driver? How do these riders kind of fit into those roles and figure out what works best for them?
Usually the driver is a person who maybe even has been a solo rider in the first, or perhaps a passenger. In my case, I was a passenger before I became a driver, and I think I was a better driver because of it, because I knew what to expect from a sidecar. So it's there's an art to both positions. Usually the driver is the owner of the bike. Sometimes it's a family affair. Very common to see husband and wife become a sidecar team and go racing. Very, very common to see boyfriend-girlfriend kind of a thing. So it's the passenger is, a lot of people look at the passengers, maybe I'd like to try that. This is something I'd like to, but as opposed to owning the bike and driving the bike, let's just give the passenger thing a try. And a lot of passengers will make the transition to drivers.
Now, taking a look at on your screen as they come barreling down that front stretch, you talked about, I believe you said it was 1,000cc horsepower that these riders are looking at. It looks like when we had one possibly pull off, problems for one of those teams. But as far as just the size of the pilots, the drivers, the passengers, got to think that you're not going to have a ton of huge people being that passenger moving back and forth, or do you want maybe a little extra weight to help plant the machine in these corners and help get you a drive out of the corner?
It's extremely critical to have that passenger in the right place at the right time. And these Formula One bikes, as I described with the monocoque tub, trick A-arm suspension, I mean, they're really an interesting piece of engineering, and they're infinitely adjustable. Your caster, your camber, your suspension. So when these are set up right, they're very unforgiving machines, and it's extremely important that that passenger be in the right place at the right time. Like I said, he can win or lose the race just as much as the guy with the throttle.
Taking a look now, the battle is on. I believe that is still Yuko and Kowski out front, but like you said, I've seen a little bit of a yo-yo back and forth. It looked like they were starting to break away, but now second place starting to chase them down.
Second place is Frank Riolo. That's like I said, he's had a 13-year of hiatus until in the last couple of years he brought this bike in. This is a state-of-the-art machine. As you would see in FIM Formula One sidecar racing in Europe, the World Championship was just decided last weekend. But that second-place bike that Riolo was on is a very sophisticated machine, and we're seeing more and more of that finally come into the U.S. as the sport is gaining some traction.
Yeah, Riolo really looking impressive right now as he continues to slowly close the gap back up. It does seem like we've got a little bit of a yoke between Yuko and Riolo, but how much of this is the machine as far as just horsepower and the ability to get the power to the ground versus the team themselves, the driver and the passenger? What would you say is going to make the biggest difference? Obviously, all of these machines extremely competitive, but right now it looks like both these teams executing to perfection in each one of their roles.
Exactly right, and I think that in this case it's going to be teamwork. It's going to be Ugly and Kowski. Both these machines are pretty equal in terms of setup and in terms of horsepower. Both 1,000cc machines, very capable, but I think, in my opinion, it would be the teamwork, as Ugly and Kowski know this racetrack very well and have won a lot of races here, and I think that is going to give them the upper hand.
I'm curious.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I'm just curious, kind of watching these guys. Do they kind of follow the traditional race lines of a two-wheeler, or do they find that there's a better path with three wheels around these racetracks?
It's a little bit of a different line. It's a little bit. I mean, you still want to apex the turn. There's no difference there. But bear in mind what the passenger is doing. Think about it this way. As a solo bike, you lean into the turn to counteract a centrifugal force trying to pull you to the outside. Well, you can't do that with a sidecar, obviously, because there's a platform over there. So you've got the passenger who is putting his weight to the inside of the turn. So that's going to have a little bit of an effect, and they're wider. So it's a little bit of a different line than the solo, but the apexing the turn is still the goal.
Sure. So do you feel as though they might maybe hug the inside of the corners a little bit more than a two-wheeler?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And it depends on the race course, and it depends on how the bike is set up and how the team is working together. A lot more variables with the three-wheelers.
Okay.
You talked a little bit about the fighting the centrifugal force and how much of that falls on the passenger. The pilot themselves, the driver, are they able to move at all as far as fluctuating their weight to the side? Is there any wiggle room in the cockpit there?
In these current outfits, the Formula 1, Formula 2, a little more on the Formula 2, but Formula 1 and in the newer Formula 2, these pilots are pretty much secured in the bike. They can't move their weight. In the old days, when I got started, if I may date myself, yes, the fairings were more open and the driver was able to lean back and forth, but not in these new machines. In the new configurations, it's up to the passenger his job is to provide that weight transfer. And now we're coming up on some slower traffic. Nice move.
Yeah.
Nice move. And Bernard Euclid is a very experienced automobile racer as well. He races classic cars. He works for Jay Leno, so he has the opportunity to race a lot of cars. So he's a very experienced race driver.
Bernard putting that experience to good use right now, because look at this. It does look like he's stretched that lead back out. Made a impressive pass with those lap traffic. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you feel like, driving or riding these sidecars, is it more similar to riding a two-wheeler or racing a car?
It's more similar to racing a car.
Okay.
It really is because the tires are They look like car tires. They essentially are, except they're stiffer sidewall. A lot of traction. No, it's, I think, really more closer to a car.
Okay.
There's some gray area in there, and that's kind of where the sidecar fits.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's right there in between. It's got 3 wheels instead of 4 or 2, right? So
Right.
that makes sense.
Exactly.
Now, this may seem like an elementary question here for you, but why is the sidecar off to the left-hand side? Has there ever been one that the third wheel is off to the right? What kind of led to that format, if you will, of the sidecar design?
Frequently asked question. You'll see most of the sidecars, in fact, I think they're all left-handed sidecars. In the old days, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when sidecars were when on a world level, you'd see the continent being Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands. The sidecars out of there would come with a right-handed chair because they drove on the right side. All of the UK outfits would come with a left-handed sidecar for the same reason. They drive on the opposite side. But the way the sport has evolved with manufacturers building sidecars and with plexiglass or fiberglass and fairings all kind of evolving to the left side, especially when Lewis Christian Racing in Switzerland started building Formula One sidecars, all left sidecars. It just evolved into left-handed. Even though you'll find the right-handers occasionally, especially in vintage. Checkered flag, as Ugly and Kautsky take that checkered flag.
So an impressive performance there from Bernard Ugly and Kevin Kautsky, grabbing the first win of our finale weekend and the first win of our sidecar class here in Bagger Racing League. And that was some close racing, Tony. We've seen some breakaways throughout the season, but man, those first couple of laps, it was anybody's guess. They were going back and forth.
Yeah, we had a couple of battles there mid-pack, but it looked like Bernard was able to just kind of march forward and bring home the win.
Looking forward to seeing this again tomorrow at noon, same time, same station, absolutely.
Same place.
We're going to take a look here at the replay and look at the start. I believe that was, you said Kelly Bell grabbing the early race lead, but Ugly maybe not first to the first turn, but it didn't take long for him to be able to make some quick moves. Honestly, very impressed to see with the maneuverability of these machines, whether it's getting around competition or making your way around lap traffic as well. Like Larry was saying, these are some of the best in the entire country, and they're putting that experience to good use right now as Ugly, pulling away, but this was the battle right here. Look at the drive down that front straight, getting the power to the ground. And Larry, you can touch on this as well. When the riders are really wide open like that, you kind of see the passenger ducking down, trying to keep the aerodynamics as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Very important, especially down the front straightaways, to have that driver and that passenger tuck in. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps, including the aerodynamics. It's very important that the passenger get tucked in.
So this was the battle. We weren't quite sure whether or not this was going to come back together and maybe have a true dogfight on our hands for the lead, but slowly but surely, here it is. We did have a pass remade, and then Ukel right there up the inside. A beautiful pass set up well before he got to the corner, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Slowly started to pull away, and the next thing they knew, they were looking at a checkered flag here for the first race of our finale weekend. Bernard Ukel and Kevin Kautsky grabbing that sidecar win.
Oh, well. Man, such a good job, dude.
Good job, guys. That was sick.
Yeah, there was.